Welcome to Tech XP. In last episode of our 100 Tech Facts series, we have seen amazing 25 tech facts. Without further ado, let's start this episode of Amazing Tech Facts. 51. Comic Sans is the most hated font in the world. Comic Sans is a whimsical, handwritten font that was created specifically for use in comic books. Despite the fact that everyone, including myself, loves to criticize this tasteless typeface, dyslexic individuals can benefit much from it. The letters are significantly simpler to read because of the asymmetrical design. 52. NASA's internet speed is 91 gigabytes per second. Around 25 megabytes per second is the typical household internet speed. Usually, that is quick enough to view Netflix immediately. And let's face it, NASA is the tech company that would genuinely benefit from faster internet connections. 53. Nokia is the largest company from Finland. Finns consider it to be a source of national pride. And while we frequently assume Nokia is merely a cell phone manufacturer, this well-known brand was first established in 1865 as a paper factory. In the 1980s, Nokia expanded into the technology industry. 54. More people have cell phones than toilets. Over 6 billion of the 7.7 billion people in the globe have access to a cell phone. Only 4.5 billion people now have access to functional restrooms. 55. The Apple Lisa was the first commercial computer with a graphical user interface, GUI, and a mouse. Before Apple, all computers, Lisa, were text-based, therefore you had to enter commands using a keyboard. Logical Integrated Software Architecture is what the term Lisa stands for. The name Lisa also applied to Steve Jobs' daughter. 56. Some people are afraid of technology. There are various types of strange phobias and concerns that people have, and technology is no exception. Technophobia, as it is aptly called, is a worry that originated during the Industrial Revolution when employees feared that robots would replace them in the workplace. It is applicable to modern civilization and the fear that people have of technology that is becoming too advanced, such as artificial intelligence technology. We can only hope that they won't be deterred from reading these technological facts by this anxiety. 57. The most expensive phone number cost millions. The phone number 6666666 was sold at a charity auction that Qatar Telecom held back in 2006. An unidentified bidder bought it for $2.75 million. 58. Mark Zuckerberg is colorblind. Due to his red-green color blindness, Facebook's founder purposefully went for a blue color scheme. He perceives blue as being the richest and clearest color. 59. 40% of American couples meet online. Nowadays, online dating is extremely common, and it appears to be effective. 40% of 2017 marriages resulted from online dating. On a larger scale, the number of people who met through friends decreased by 13% between 1995 and 2017. 60. Music content makes up 5% of YouTube. Although 5% may not seem like much, it is the most popular kind of YouTube video. They account for 20% of all views on YouTube. 61. Finding a security bug in Facebook's code will pay off. Facebook specifically rewards $500 for the disclosure of any security flaw. Even better, the minimum startup payment is $500, so there's still a chance you may make more. 62. Kids that are on social media for 1 hour a day have less chance of being happy. Studies have revealed that youngsters are 14% less likely to be satisfied with their overall life the more time they spend on social media, which is probably not much of a surprise. This is 3 times more severe than the consequences of living with only one parent. 63. MySpace lost all of its content before 2016. Every single image, song, and video that was posted to this one well-known social network was unintentionally wiped as a result of a botched server migration. 50 million tracks by 14 million musicians, including Lily Allen and Arctic Monkeys, fall under this category. Many of these, of course, have backups that are undoubtedly already on Spotify, but those that didn't are now irretrievably lost. 64. Nearly 1/3 of divorces are because of Facebook. Facebook was cited as a factor in 33% of divorced couples' breakups. Some of these more specific explanations include sending offensive comments to other people, it causes arguments between couples, using hidden social media accounts, and having doubts about the relationship. 65. Using a thinner font can save printer ink. This difference is not significant enough to concern a typical user. However, you'll need a little bit less ink if you select a lighter font with thinner lines. Everything here is predicated on inkjet printers that utilize outdated cartridges. Generally speaking, switching to a lighter font will only save you approximately 10% of your ink. 66. The QWERTY keyboard was originally designed to slow you down. When typewriters first came out, if you typed too quickly, the keys would jam. Commonly used characters were spaced apart on a QWERTY keyboard to slow down typists and avoid jamming. The Dvorak keyboard was designed for speed if you wanted to learn a more effective keyboard. While we're talking about keyboards and typing, did you know that a typist's fingers travel a typical 12.6 miles every day? 67. The first web page is still running. Tim Berners-Lee began working on the World Wide Web in 1991. Although it is still accessible at info.cern.ch, don't anticipate much. There are only links to plain text explaining how to use the internet. There are no backdrop images or visuals. 68. Some countries skipped the era of landlines. Bangladesh, Ghana, and Nigeria all increased from 0 to 100. The cost of switching to using landlines was prohibitive due to a lack of resources. Over 85% of people in these nations have access to cell phones, compared to less than 1% who have landlines. 69. The passwords for the nuclear missiles were just a string of zeros. Even if the Air Force disputes this, Bruce Blair, an Air Force launch officer, claims they are lying. And what government would wish to acknowledge such an absurdity? The password was 8 zeros in a row, and it was written down so no one would ever forget it. 70. Over 90% of the world's currency is digital. I'm not sure about you, but I hardly ever have cash on hand. With the use of credit cards, debit cards, direct deposits, and internet purchases, just roughly 8% of the world's currency is still in the form of real currency. 71. Millions of hours of TV and movies are watched every day on Netflix. Being a hugely well-known brand like Netflix, it shouldn't come as much of a surprise. The average person in the world watches 164 million hours of Netflix content per day, which is the equivalent of 18,812 years worth of TV shows and motion pictures. My binge-watching tendencies don't seem that horrible now. If these technological facts are interesting to you so far, you might also be interested in learning about the Netflix and chill button. 72. Technical degrees are almost useless by the time you graduate. Although a degree appears impressive on paper, technology is actually developing more quickly than ever. Every 2 years, the volume of technological information doubles. Therefore, if you begin a 4-year degree program, half of what you learn will be outdated by the time you graduate. 73. There's a term for old people who use the internet. These days, it's uncommon to find seniors over 50 who regularly utilize the internet. Silver surfers is a word for something that is so uncommon. 74. Tech companies often test their products in New Zealand. New Zealand is a fantastic testing location because it is such a diversified nation with English-speaking citizens. The biggest reason, though, is that because to its relative isolation.